lead us in the pledge, and then Mr. Hyatt's going to lead us in the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings. Lord, it be your will, we ask that you bless our staff here at Swain County Schools. We will continue to seek your wisdom, courage, and strength through all these difficult times. Lord, please help us to be wise in the decisions we make here tonight. Please help us to make decisions that are for the good for all involved. Dear Lord, let us always seek your will and always do and say. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so I'll call our special called meeting of October 26th to order, please.
Ms. Burns, I believe that after the changes this morning in the agenda, that we're in a good place. There's nothing else that I know of that needs to be added or deleted at this time. Great.
Does any other board member have aware of anything that we need to add or delete to our agenda? No? Okay. Then I'll have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All in favor? Let's go with say aye. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Do you?
That was unanimous. Oh, I'm supposed to do roll call when we have somebody.
Yeah,
say.
but everyone spoke and Lambert
Okay.
spoke after that,
Okay.
so I think
All
we're in
right.
a good place.
We're good.
But
Okay.
yeah, we'll need to do roll call after that.
Okay.
Please. As has been true on our board meetings for several weeks now, Allison is here to give us an update on the county. So Allison, please, ma'am.
Evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Before we go into COVID, I just wanted to mention briefly, we had the MedAssist 2 Saturdays ago at West Elementary, and we were able to serve 878 individuals. Last year, we served a little over 800, so that's good to hear. I've also applied for a grant, and I found out on Friday I did receive the grant to hold another MedAssist, and we'll have that in the spring, hopefully. So the grant will actually pay for the program this time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then we had the drive-through flu clinic at the middle school last Wednesday, and we did 72 adults and 46 children. So we partnered with Blue Ridge Health and Smoky Mountain Pediatrics. Excuse me.
That's great.
So going with COVID, you have your handout. It looks a little different. I took out the United States information because there's so much on here. It's a little overwhelming. So I nixed it. North Carolina, just to point out, our positive rate and our fatality rate are roughly the same for this month, 6.8 and 1.6. For Swain County, we've done 5,679 tests. We're waiting on 29. 5,353 are negative. We have had 297 positive tests since March. 56 are currently active cases. 4 deceased. Our positive rate is 5.2%. Case fatality is 1.3%. So, of course, our positive rate has jumped up. Case fatality is down. So that's very fortunate for our area. With the 56 active cases, 38 are located in 28719. 18 are in 28713. Of those, there are 5 kids. 1 is a virtual student. 3 go to the Cherokee Central School, and 1 goes to Smoky Mountain.
So one is a
Virtual student. They're not in the school system. They're just virtual.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you mind to repeat that again?
Sure can. 1 virtual. 3 go to Cherokee Central School, and 1 is Smoky Mountain. Of the 18 that are in our area, they all are connected to a previous positive, except 1. There's no linkage between that 1 and any other case. So 17 are linked, either by family member, church, work, or social gathering. If you look at the zip code for 28713, we've had 83. 28719, there's been 199. 28789, there are 13. And we added 2 new zip codes at the bottom, which I didn't even realize, because I had to ask them. I was like, well, where are these? One is in Dill's Gap, and the other one is in Nantahala area.
Oh, I thought about them.
Completely forgot about them. On the back page, this looks a little different. What I did, I broke down each of the western North Carolina counties. I left the information from October the 12th, and then the most current information I could pull off of their website. So if you see for Graham County, as of today, they have 244 positive cases, and they have 17 active at this moment. Macon County, the active, I think, is probably what you're probably looking at the most, 35 cases. Clay County is 30. Cherokee County is 40. Jackson County is 138. Below that is just the 2 graphs. I left the one from the 12th in as a comparison as today's graph as well. It just breaks down the ages for you. On the last page, this is a comparison of the actual tests versus the positive tests. And I've shown this before, but I just want to show you now because people are a little confused online about this graph. The blue line is the actual number of tests. That's why it's always going up, and it's always going to continue to go up. The orange line is the positive test. And as you can see, just up until recently, it's been pretty straight. There's a little uptick now. But that's what that is. A lot of people online are looking at that a little backwards. The graph below that is a new graph that I got last week. It goes through October the 3rd. You can't really see that, but it's October the 3rd. And what it shows is that red line is ages 0 to 17. The orange line is 18 to 24. And of course, you see that huge spike. That's when the kids went back to college. The blue line is 25 to 49, purple is 50 to 64, and the green is 65 and older. So if you look at all that, all of them are ticking upward, except the ages 18 to 24, and it looks like it's a little bit leveling out. But just to show a comparison about the numbers and the ages, of course, the 0 to 17, of course, is what you're probably looking at the most. It's still well below the rest of the age groups. I mean, there is an uptick, but it's still well below that, the other ones.
What do you think the 18 to 24 is kind of starting to level out some? Do you think some of them don't have symptoms that are shown and they're kind of flying under the radar?
I think the colleges are probably doing a little bit better since they've actually gotten their feet wet kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And then a lot of them probably may have gone back to virtual.
Some of them have.
But of course, when you get that many students all at once in one place, you're going to see an uptick like that with that age group.
They don't keep it up to the age, they're 0 to 17, isn't it? I see it.
Yeah, 0 to 17 is the red line at the bottom.
If there's college students from Swain County that are obviously going to college elsewhere, do they get counted in Swain County or do they get counted in wherever they're at?
The college probably counts them for their report, but as long as they give a Swain County address, it's always reported back to us.
But they're not counted in 2 counties, just one. Yep.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything
Any
else?
questions? Allison, again, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you being here and taking your time, explaining all this to us, and for everything you and staff are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to point out, our numbers are going up, and they're going up from workplace, family contacts, churches. So really, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart is the key to that.
As far as K through 5, you feel good about that? I mean, most of there's nothing that's come up, right?
There's nothing that's come up that I'm aware of.
Nothing as far as positive tests are concerned. We still have students that are coming through with contact or with symptomatic issues, but those are handled very quickly. Last week, according to the numbers that Brandon and I looked at today, we had 16 last week. That's what you sent to me by email, correct?
That was either symptoms or close contact. I think 9 were close contact, and the rest were just symptoms. Could be, anything, running a little fever today, a little new cough, and those normally go to the doctor and get screened out. I don't think we had, I don't remember off the top of my head, our positive cases last week.
Well, we had one that, according to our graph, our chart showed up as a positive this morning, but they had been out since last week and they had just been tested. And so that test came back. That's my understanding. And the numbers that I sent to you all this morning apparently are a little high. Brandon's going to have to train me in how to read that chart just a little bit better. But I would rather have a high number than a low number when we're thinking about this. But it was encouraging to me when he sent that out, and there were only 16 when I was thinking there were 22. So that feels better to me anyhow.
And so again, just so I'm of the 16, only one of them truly was positive?
Yes.
And that child became symptomatic away from school and
Yes.
hasn't been? Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, and that's the way that it's been with all of the positive. Correct me if I'm speaking incorrectly, but we've been able, because of the social distancing and the measures that we're taking, and also because the parents are watching the symptoms of their kids. They're taking them out quickly. We've been able to dodge having positives from students in the building and even adults. We had a sub last Friday who wasn't feeling well and went and was tested and immediately told us that he was positive and he's not on campus now. But because of the pieces that we have in place with the social distancing and the masks that were diligently followed in his classroom, we had no close contacts. True statement?
True statement. We have been very fortunate that a lot of the students have gotten, if they've gotten sick, it's been on an off day, and the few that have tested, some have because we do the social distancing and have made that a priority, we've not had any close contacts at school to this point, but the majority of our students that have come positive have been out of school for more than 48 hours, so there's no consideration of close contact with them so far.
Am I misspeaking in any way, Allison?
No, the school's been great. Masks, social distancing, as well as, promoting hand washing.
I went to the middle school today just to visit classrooms, and maybe some knew I was there, but most did not. And when I'm walking down the hall, everyone has on a mask. Everyone is following protocol. I was really, really impressed with what I was seeing there.
So I think this is a great time, and sometimes it just feels like it falls a little flat when I say things like this, and I truly don't mean for it to. But I just think this is a tremendous time to say thank you to our staff. We're asking, the circumstances are asking things of every individual above and beyond anything that we ever expected that we would be involved with when it comes to work-related duties. So thank you to the staff for doing what you're doing to help keep this from just spiraling out of control. And thank you to our parents, our parents in the community taking this so seriously and understanding the ramifications of what allowing a sick child to come into our school system could do to our entire community. So thanks to everyone.
Are you seeing the same thing in our community? Like are the churches doing the mask, and are you seeing similar or?
Some people are doing masks and social distancing. There are quite a few who are not. And we're going to see numbers because of that. I mean, when you can't even get through town because of the tourists. So we have that element.
Right.
And then we have our locals. So our numbers are going to keep going up.
So for the folks out there who are listening, it's, what you're stressing is
Please wear
again,
your mask. Please social distance. If you're going to get together with family members or pumpkin carving or whatever's going to go on Halloween, try to keep your distance, wear your mask, wash your hands. In churches, sit with your household contacts. Try to maintain social distancing from everybody else. Please don't sing in the choir. If you do, have only 1 or 2 people do it. Separate them. Workplace, same thing. You've got to wear your mask and you've got to stay 6 feet apart. There are a few workplace positives, and it's just not one. It's 3 or 6 or ever how many.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
Got a
Thank you.
question about after-school, after-school programs we're doing now, how are they going?
We really,
The tutoring and stuff.
we don't have a lot of after-school. The tutoring that we're having is one-on-one.
It's
and
after-school though, isn't it?
Some of that is after
Some of
school, and they're practicing the correct protocols just like they would if they were in the classroom.
I mean, are they having a lot of, we have quite a bit of that?
Not
Taking advantage of it?
Not a great deal. A lot of the after-school, let me rephrase this. Most of the after-school is digital, okay?
Yes.
There is some where some students are coming in. Are we having good results and good participation? It depends upon the school. I think that at the high school that we're struggling for people to participate in that. That's what I'm learning. Middle school and elementary, we're probably serving 100 students maximum between all of those.
But it's available.
The opportunity is there. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie has been one of the busiest people in the county. I mean, she's keeping track of everything that's going on in the system. Plus, she and her staff have been learning the Tyler Munis program, and I bet they've put in 60 to 80 hours of professional development on that already. And there's still more to do. But she has put our budget together for 2020 and 21, and she would like to present that and hopefully get that approved tonight. Of course, that's up to you all, how you want to handle that.
Good evening. The budget resolution was part of your packets, but put before you also tonight were the budget resolution highlights, just to kind of make it a little bit easier to understand where we are this year versus last year and what comprises our budget. Overall, our total budget for 2020-2021 is $30,390,652. That is down approximately $3.8 million from our final approved budget from last year. Most of that is capital outlay, where we budgeted the total cost of the high school addition, as well as the multi-purpose building. So a lot of that is just the reduction this year in capital. We still have a lot budgeted in the current year in capital outlay for the high school addition, but just not as much. This year's budget represents appropriated fund balance of $453,406 as compared to last year, $482,586. However, last year we did not dip into our fund balance and managed to actually add to fund balance. We don't have the final numbers, but around $300,000. Of the budget, salaries represents $13.3 million, which is 44% of our total overall budget. Benefits is $5.6 million. So salary and benefits represent 62% of our total budget. Purchase services such as contract services is 2.7 million, or 9%. Supplies and material is 2.8 million, or 9%. And then capital outlay is 5.8 million, or 19%. And the rest is transfers, which is transfers from our local or special revenue over to capital. The state public school fund is our largest fund. It's 51% of our total budget. This year's state budget is $15.5 million. It's a decrease of about $425,000 from our final approved budget. However, we don't have all of our allotments in yet. We'll still get more for transportation, probably around December. And then we have, those programs or PRCs where we get guaranteed allotments. So that's always represented in our final budget. Our retirement rate this year is 21.68%, and health insurance, the employer portion, is $6,326 per employee. We did receive one additional position this year in state for our program enhancement teaching positions. That was a phased-in approach that the state has done, and so we got one of our positions this year. Teachers received a step increase this year and a $350 bonus. And I say teachers, but it's teachers and instructional support that are certified staff. There was no increase in the salary scale, just a step increase, and it depends on where you're at on the scale if you actually received an increase in pay. Beginning teacher pay remains the same at $35,000, and the top of that, what we call the A schedule, is $52,000. Assistant principals received a step increase, the same as teachers and instructional support. Principals, there was no change to their salary schedule. Our funding for the current year for the state is based on our average daily membership, estimated at 1,946 as compared to 1,960 from last year. They always take the best one of two, so they look at month 1 and month 2, and if there's a difference on those compared to what our allotments were based on, then there's always a revision. However, they've agreed to hold us harmless this year because of COVID, so shouldn't see any reductions on that. Non-certified staff received no increase this year. This is the second year in a row. Our state budget includes $253,905 in COVID relief funds. Those funds must be spent by the end of December. And total funded positions is around 223 and 21 bus drivers. Our federal fund represents 6% of our total budget. Right now we have budgeted $1.7 million. We have received a lot, estimated allotments, but we have not received all of our funding yet for federal. In that $1.7 million, we have $362,635 in CARES Act funds, which is the K-12 emergency relief funds. We have 2 years to spend those funds, and those will expire September 30, 21. And there are approximately 20.65 positions funded under the federal programs. Our local current expense fund represents 3% of our overall budget. County appropriations is $918,190, which is the same as in the prior year. That doesn't include the additional appropriation I think they approved the other night. We'll do a budget amendment for that. The total overall budget for local current expense is just over $1 million. We use that for our maintenance, salaries, utilities, and payments to charter schools. We have 7 positions funded under our local current expense. We're down 1 position from prior year. And the budget does include $37,712 we'll begin making our loan payments on our energy savings contract, and that will begin in April. Special revenue fund, that's where we spend our impact aid funds and then any kind of special grants that we received. Our budget for special revenue is just over $4.1 million as compared to about $4.7 million in the prior year. Estimated impact aid revenue has been estimated at $2.5 million as compared to $2.7 million. Our numbers do continue to decline, and receiving back impact aid surveys continues to decline. So we have 25 positions funded under our special revenue fund. As I discussed before, appropriated fund balance is $453,000, and our current fund balance hopefully should be around about $4.3 million once we get our final audit. The auditors just recommend that we continue to at least maintain $2.5 million, so we'll still be in good shape even if we do wind up having to dip into our fund balance. Capital outlay is the $5.6 million as compared to $7.5 million last year. Of that, we have $1.9, almost $2 million in the energy savings contract. That whole project is just over $2.2 million, but we did pay $300,000 of that last year. In this current year budget, we have $3.1 million still budgeted for the high school addition. And we're receiving $160,000 from the county for our capital. I did attach to the budget resolution any changes that we made to the capital outlay budget. You know, Mr. Sell has brought a couple of changes already to you, and I just went ahead and did the final as is proposed final capital outlay budget to include our energy savings contract and the high school addition, all those that we have to budget into our final budget. Does anyone have any questions?
I actually have a couple. We'll let Mr. McKinney go first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
that $3 million covers the new renovation of the office areas too.
Yes.
We have that on that page that's in there. I did, there's a section of additional high school construction. So I included the furniture that you had already approved and then the remodel of the old office space of $43,000.
Was that in the overall money that we had allotted from the state and then the county together
Yes.
for that whole
Yes,
renovation?
that should be
So
contained.
we're in good
there.
shape on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It'll come out of the additional loan proceeds from
Yes.
Yeah.
So, on the, like, under the state public school funds where it mentions the COVID relief funds, and then again under the federal funds where it's CARES Act,
Right.
you know, one would assume that those came with some real strict guidelines as to how you could spend that money and on what
Yes.
types of things to purchase. And so would you mind to just give us a little information? I'm assuming hand sanitizer and our scanners and all of those types of things.
Right. Most of what is in our federal budget, the federal funds, we could use a little bit more for broadly. So that is where the majority of our supplies is coming from, and some, and if we need additional staff. We've hired additional custodians, and we have budgeted in there some positions in case we do get a psychologist in order to help catch up with some assessments that we would need. On the state side, it's still federal money, but part of the money just came directly through federal programs, and then the other part, the COVID relief funds, came through the state. But it is federal money. That was divided up into pots of money for contracted services for health professionals, whether it be additional contract services for psychologists or for social workers or counselors, those type of things. Then we also had money for student devices. We had money for devices for personnel, Wi-Fi, hotspots. But there were several small pots of money that came through with that.
It says it needs to be spent by the end of the year. Is that, or how are we looking there? Are we going to spend that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That will be spent.
Okay.
The
We'll make
majority
sure
of
that
it
that's
was, we've used for the delivery of meals. So a lot of it was used for that. That was the biggest pot of money that we got in those COVID relief funds.
So
All the
do you-
devices, we've already purchased devices. There's some very small pots of money that, for bus Wi-Fi that we haven't used that yet. But yeah, we're getting there.
You
as
think
far as-
we'll have some more after the first of the year? Or do you know?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they'll take what's left over from all the districts and just redistribute it out, but I don't know.
I have one other,
Mhm.
unrelated to this. At some point, and it may be in here somewhere, and I just, don't have your mind, but at some point, I think just for the sake of transparency, because we all worked so hard to get that quarter-cent sales tax passed, I think it would be really, serve us all well to get figures on that amount of money that has come into the school system and how we have spent that. Just to show the community that we're spending that money the way we said we would when we were
Right.
trying to encourage people to vote for that.
Yeah. Those funds do come to the county first, and so anytime that they would spend that on our behalf, or they would, budget a distribution to us, then that would have to be brought to you as a budget amendment and then, and added to the budget.
And
So,
added to the budget.
definitely.
But I guess what I'm asking is at some point, certainly not tonight, but at some point, could we just put together a little statement that says, this is what came in directly from that quarter-cent
Right.
sales tax, and this is how we spent it? Just so that,
Absolutely.
and put it in the paper or whatever, just so that we're being real transparent with those funds.
Sure.
That's a good idea, because I've had people, and that, I know y'all have too, complain about all the tourists, and it's packed. But every time I see them coming in, it is an aggravation, it is time consuming. But I'm
It's
counting money.
made a
'cause
difference.
That quarter cent adds up, that's where that money goes. And
Yes.
so it's been beneficial to the schools
Absolutely.
now, so we need to hug their neck when they come in.
Well,
Yeah.
just look out.
Well, we can't hug their neck now. Because they make me bring the coat.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I did have one that's related a little bit. Have we replaced Tavish yet? Is that on the agenda? Okay. Because that was central to this, getting out these surveys. I know she headed that up, and getting those surveys back in for
Impact aid.
for impact aid. Because I know the best we can do, we miss some, or some don't give them back, and that's dollars.
Is there another method besides parents completing it? Is there another method to collecting information that would assist?
Well, this year, for our remote students, we're having to do it electronically, and they have approved that just for this year. There is another method that we could use, but I don't think it would be as effective. But that would be basically us supplying a list of names, addresses, and then taking it to the BIA and asking them to sign off on it. But it's very difficult when you're trying to say on a specific day, because we pick the 20th student day as our survey date, and they would have to verify that that student lived on or their parents worked on federal property, so, or Indian lands.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions? Thank you. You always do such
All
an
right,
amazing
thank you.
job
Appreciate it.
explaining all of this.
Katrina Turbyfield is the Director of School Improvement, and part of that involves working with our beginning teachers, which she does, in my opinion, a phenomenal job with. She has a beginning teacher plan that she needs to present to you, and if I'm not mistaken, Katrina, that needs approval tonight if we can, correct? Okay.
So every year, this comes before you to be approved. There's no changes except for one. Normally, it's the same thing over and over, but there was a statute passed that we had to add. And so if you'll look at item J in that document, it's right above the signatures on the last page. From now on, the beginning teacher will be required to fill out a graduate survey, and the employer, the principal of the school, will be required to fill out the employer survey. And the reason they're doing that is to better the teacher preparation programs in North Carolina. So that's where that data is going to go toward. And so I had to add that in, but everything else is the same. We're still supplying mentors. We still give them orientation. I meet with them monthly, get out there and support them as much as we can, give them PD, those kind of things. So any questions about that?
Great job. Thank you. It's nice to know that beginning teachers have such amazing support.
We have great beginning teachers. Let me just brag on them just a minute. They're phenomenal. This year we have a smaller bunch. You know, last year we had a ginormous bunch, but this year we have a smaller bunch. But they are wonderful, and they've just gone with the flow. You know, they've not been hindered by the COVID stuff at all. They've just come in and said, okay, this is just their normal right now. And so it's been wonderful working with them and hearing the great things that are coming out of their classrooms, even in the midst of trials.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you. Thank you for your support to that program.
I was looking at the teacher working conditions survey from last year, was completed April, May, or March. Probably it was sent out in March of 2020. And there's a whole section about beginning teachers. And as I was looking through the numbers for the district, they're very, very positive. There are some things obviously that we can always work on, maybe helping our mentor teachers have a little more release time to work with them, because that's always, the timing is always a competitive issue for everyone because there's so much to do. But I would encourage you to look online and find that. It's available for anyone to see, and I can share that link with you if you'd like to see it. Okay? Our next meeting is scheduled to be November the 9th. I was speaking with Lambert a little while ago, getting him set up so that we could remote in, and he's made a suggestion that we move our NC STAR plans to December. And the reason that Lambert is suggesting that is he feels like with a couple of you, including him, stepping down off the board and with a couple of people probably stepping on, it would be beneficial to have those people as part of the listening session and also the approval process for that. And I believe that we can do that, but we really can't delay past December the 14th because we need to push send so that they go to the state at that somewhere shortly after that. So would that be acceptable to you all to move the NC STAR plans until December the 14th? And then we'll have a regular November meeting on the 9th. And Melly, you'll still be the reigning chair at that point. And if you want to have another meeting 2 weeks after that, I'm sure that Lambert would love to be here. Okay. All right. That's all of the discussion items that I have. Have I missed anything? Then we have some personnel that we would like to present to you, and Mr. Dills, I have their names and what they're going to do. That's how fresh these are. But I will need start dates. It's not on my paper.
Okay, it's on the spreadsheet. I can give it to you right now.
Okay. Mr. Dills is the spreadsheet king, I'll just have you know. He can create a formula that would baffle the masses, the multitude. Because it baffles me.
Everybody's got to be good at something.
Everybody's got to be good at something.
What about Miss Shepherd?
No. That one is second semester, and these both two are 1102. That's a second semester.
So do you have a date for her?
I don't, because we wanted to see if we could get 2 weeks in early that we were talking about beforehand. So
Okay.
I don't. I guess it would just depend on when we can get training lined up.
Okay, all right. Okay, we can work with it that way. If you'll recall, Miss Dora May retired at the beginning of this year, and we've held that position. There is now someone who is available for that. So I would like to recommend to you that we employ Miss Angela Babb as an art teacher at the high school to start as soon as possible. And the reason that I need to phrase that one that way, we're hoping, she's a brand-new teacher, we're hoping to bring her in for a couple of weeks before the beginning of the semester and pay her for that, just like we have been our beginning teachers who came in August. We actually worked them 2 weeks, got a lot of training out of the way, and got them into their classrooms. And Miss Babb has a tremendous amount of work to do in that classroom. I don't know if you know art teachers, but art teachers like to store things. And I believe that Miss Blankenship at the high school would like Miss Babb to unstore some things. Okay?
Does it date back to Mr. Forrester?
There probably are some things that go back that far. So I'm recommending Angela Babb as the art teacher at Swain County High School to begin as soon as possible. And we're waiting on her background check.
Background check still pending, and she's still a student at WCU that's taking her master's.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve Angela Babb as the art teacher at the high school as soon as possible.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion, questions? So I guess we need to go around the room, don't we?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll start with you, Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Ms. Burns, yes.
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 That was unanimous.
Okay. I would like to recommend Miss Donna Shepard as a one-on-one EC assistant at West Elementary, and her start date will be November the 2nd.
Monday. Wow. Do I have a motion
Motion.
and a second?
Second.
Any further questions or discussions? We'll start again with Mr. Wilson.
Lambert, do you approve of Miss Shepard?
Yes. Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Carpenter? Ms. Burns? Yes. Mr. Hyatt, yes.
Yes.
Mr. McKinney, yes. That was unanimous.
Full disclosure, the next person is related to Mr. Dills. He has had no input in this. He was not in the interview. He would not even bring the recommendation to me. This recommendation is coming directly from Ms. Blankenship at the high school. And I think it is important that our community understands that Mr. Dills and all of us have that level of integrity. So whenever it's one of our family members, we completely back out of the process, okay? So I would like to recommend that Caitlin Dills be employed as the Native American Coordinator for Swain County High School with an effective start date of November 2nd, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Any further questions or discussions? Okay, Mr. Wilson, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
McKinney, yes. That was unanimous.
Those are all of the personnel decisions that we need to make tonight. The next item would be action on the budget as presented by Ms. Treadway. So I would recommend that you approve the budget for the year 2020-21 as it was presented to you tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second on the motion?
No, second.
Okay. Further discussion or questions? Okay, we'll vote. We're voting on the budget as presented tonight. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Burns, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt? Mr.
Yes.
McKinney? Yes, that was unanimous.
The last item on our action, or on the agenda for action, is the approval of the beginning teacher plan. And so I would recommend that you approve the plan for beginning teachers as it was presented to you by Ms. Turberfield this evening.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the beginning teacher plan.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion or questions? Okay, we'll start with you, Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Burns, yes. Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
McKinney? That was unanimous.
Those are all of the action items. While we have been working, I sent a message to Miss Ash to get the exact numbers for you, Mr. McKinney, about after school. She said that there are 66 students who are currently in the after-school program in one form or another from the middle school, 65 from both elementary schools combined. We don't know the true level of success from the high school just yet. That just started last week, I believe. Some are being served on campus, but about 3/4 of them are being served off campus right now. She said there are about 25 to 30 of various ages who are actually getting face-to-face tutoring. Otherwise, it's all digital. The request for face-to-face tutoring is going up. There's a little application process that students and parents use, but the request numbers are climbing. Report cards are going out right now, and I believe they'll be going out through the end of the week. She expects that as report cards get home, we're going to see an increase in a desire for some help. We've got the people in place,
Good, good, sounds good.
okay? As far as I'm concerned, and the agenda, that's all that we have except for my evaluation, and if you want me to fill that out for you, I'll be happy to do that. But we'll need to go into closed session for that.
You need someone to make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and so we're going into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of going into closed session?
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Burns, yes. Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. McKinney? That was unanimous.
And since there's no action after that, you can close the meeting from there. You don't necessarily have to come back out here to do that, okay?
You guys are done. Thanks for being here.
Tell me on that background check.
Yes.
We're-
Stay here,
we're
everybody's
off
going.
mic. We're off mic.
We can stay here if you want to, or we can go back there.
Okay.